Imagine 150 modern fighter jets pouring into Ukraine. Not next year, but starting now. What would that do to the war? Today, we unpack how Sweden's move to arm Ukraine with up to 150 Gripen fighters could rewrite the air war, change the balance on the ground, and reshape European security for a generation. Stay with me. This isn't theory. This is happening. Before we deep dive into aircraft specs and tactics, let's be blunt. Air superiority matters. From 1940 to 2025, the side that controls the skies consistently controls how a land war is fought. Movement, logistics, close air support, reconnaissance, suppression of enemy air defenses. Right now, Ukraine survives despite persistent attacks on its infrastructure and an active Russian air threat. Adding hundreds of modern fighters, even if introduced in stages, would change many of the assumptions both sides operate under. And when I say 150 Gripen jets, I'm not talking about vague talk. Sweden and Ukraine have been reported to be exploring a deal that could involve as many as 150 Gripen aircraft. That's a major strategic idea, not a rumor. Meet the Jazz 39 Gripen, Sweden's lightweight, highly networked, and surprisingly lethal multi-role fighter built by Saab. The modern E variant is the workhorse people are talking about. It uses the GEF 414-derived engine, has increased fuel capacity, modern AESA-class radar, advanced avionics, and an integrated electronic warfare suite. It can carry modern long-range Meteor air-to-air missiles and IRIS-T for short range, an effective combination for both beyond visual range and dogfight scenarios. What makes Gripen unique isn't just weapons. It was designed to operate from austere bases and even roads. That means resilience in wartime when air bases are targeted. It's also relatively inexpensive to buy and operate, compared with heavyweights like the Eurofighter or F-35, which matters when discussing hundreds of aircraft. Okay, the core question. Is this real? According to multiple reports, Sweden and Ukraine have moved from conversations to a formal intent to discuss the purchase and potential sale of up to 150 Gripen fighters. Swedish leadership described the talks as serious, and Ukrainian officials have repeatedly emphasized the need for more advanced aircraft. This is a major diplomatic and industrial undertaking for Sweden and Saab. A few practical realities. Saab and its partners are already in production. Sweden has begun receiving Gripen E deliveries, and Saab's production lines in Sweden and Brazil are active. But building, training, and delivering tens of aircraft takes time and money. Expect a staged delivery plan, rather than 150 jets appearing overnight. Now, the fun and consequential part. Let's run through how an influx of Gripens could change operations across 5 layers: air defense, offensive counter-air, ISR, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, close air support, CAS, and deterrence. Air defense and defensive patrols, Gripens armed with Meteor missiles and integrated electronic warfare make Russian air operations riskier. Ukrainian fighters patrolling with modern BVR missiles force adversaries to be more cautious with strike packages and standoff munitions. Offensive counter-air, SEAD/DEAD. The Gripen's EW suite and air-to-ground capability allow it to hunt and suppress enemy air defenses. If Ukraine can more effectively reduce Russian SAMs, that increases freedom for Ukrainian strike aircraft and drones, amplifying artillery and strike campaigns on the battlefield. ISR and networked targeting. A modern fighter is also a sensor node. Gripens can feed targeting data into Ukraine's networked systems, improving the lethality of missiles, artillery, and loitering munitions by providing sensor correction and real-time targeting. No specific citation needed. This is doctrinal. Close air support and dynamic battlefield presence. Thoughtful. With enough fighters, Ukraine could sustain closer CAS coverage, rapid air reaction to frontline crises, forcing Russian commanders to alter tempo and troop dispositions. Doctrinal. Strategic deterrence and morale. Finally, the psychological effect. Ukraine's forces, population, and allies would gain confidence. Russia would have to reallocate assets. This strategic shock can reshape not just the battlefield but political calculations. Doctrinal. Remember, none of this eliminates risk. Aircraft need bases, logistics, trained pilots, and secure airspace to operate safely. But the potential operational multiplier is significant. Let's get real about constraints. Reports show Saab and partner facilities are scaling production, but manufacturing hundreds of fighters, plus spare parts, missiles, and support equipment, is a multi-year effort. Sweden itself plans to expand its Gripen fleet for national defense. That creates tension between domestic needs and export commitments. Pilot training. Modern jets require months of conversion training per pilot. Expect NATO standard syllabi and simulators to be used. Maintenance and supply chain. Missiles, Meteor, IRIST, engines, avionics, and spare airframes must be procured and maintained. Airbase security. Gripens need protected runways, dispersal plans, and hardened logistics to avoid being neutralized by long-range strikes. Political and legal constraints. Transfers of fighter jets are subject to export controls, allied approvals, and funding mechanisms. Sweden's political calculus is crucial. So, a 150 aircraft plan is game-changing on paper, but real effects depend on careful, phased implementation. Pilot throughput, supply lines, integration with Ukrainian command and control, and allied support for munitions. Now consider the adversary's response. Russia could react in several ways. Accelerate air defense deployments in frontline regions, attempt sabotage operations to slow deliveries, escalate missile and drone strikes against Ukrainian runways and logistics hubs, or pursue diplomatic pressure and sanctions. Each reaction would carry risks and costs for Moscow, but none are unlikely. Doctrinal scenario. One key factor. Gripens are survivable in contested environments because of their EW capabilities and road operability, which complicates Russia's calculus. If Russia escalates against Swedish production facilities or allies, it risks drawing NATO closer into the orbit of the conflict in political terms. Geopolitical inference. Here are plausible staging options Ukraine might adopt as Gripens arrive. Air defense umbrella first. Deploy fighters to protect key cities and critical infrastructure. Integrated strike groups. Pair Gripens with Ukrainian drones and artillery networks for surgical attacks on supply lines. Distributed basing. Operate from dispersed, often mobile, airfields and prepared road strips to avoid single-point vulnerabilities. Combine training with NATO advisors. Fast-track tactics. Standardize IFF/ROE and integrate secure data links. If implemented well, these options would allow Ukraine to maximize the Gripen's strength in contested airspaces while mitigating Russia's asymmetric counters. Important to be honest. There are strong counter-arguments. Time and scale. Building and fielding 150 modern fighters is a long, expensive process. The immediate battlefield might not see instant changes. Supply and maintenance vulnerability. If spare parts and missiles aren't secured, aircraft availability drops quickly. Escalation risk. Russia may interpret massive rearming as a direct threat and escalate elsewhere. Pilot attrition and training limits. Simply giving aircraft without trained crews doesn't solve the problem overnight. None of those means the plan is worthless. They mean the plan must be accompanied by logistics, training, secure financing, and political coordination. Beyond Ukraine, this deal would reshape Europe's defense industry and alliances. Sweden exporting Gripens at scale elevates its defense industrial role. It could spur other buys and prompt NATO members to reconsider force posture in Northern and Eastern Europe. The strategic ripple effects will be political and industrial as well as military. So, is 150 Gripen jets a game changer? Yes, but only if matched with the right logistics, training, and political will. On the map of modern warfare, advanced fighters are a force multiplier. They alter enemy behavior, enable new tactics, and shape diplomacy. Sweden's discussions with Ukraine mark one of the most consequential defense stories of 2025, and if realized, will be a major turning point in the war's air dimension. Turn this into a narrated script with on-screen lower thirds and bullet animations ready for editing. Smash the like button if you want the visual edit script next, and subscribe for more deep dives like this. Drop a comment. Which deployment scenario do you think Ukraine would pick? I read the best ones in the next video. See you next time.